Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast. Friday's episode today. Today we are talking all things Porsche as we usually do, and today I am joined by James. And James, you guys will remember from a previous owner's story. James had the Cup car. He's had lots of air-cooled. He's had GT3s. Good morning or good evening, James. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad you came back on. I'll just tell the listeners that James and I have been saying, you should come back on, and then I thought, well, the opportunity's here. Steve's seat is empty, so to speak, because he's getting used to having two children in his apartment, getting used to being sleepless for a little while, so he won't be back anytime soon. He is coming back. People have asked me that question. He is coming back. It's just going to be a few weeks before he does. Before we get into it, James, I'll just start with the usual Friday's things. But just to remind people, if they haven't listened to your episode, I should have checked, actually. I can't remember what number you were, James, on Owner Stories. Do you remember?
I do not remember. I think it comes up on the podcast as 51.
51. Okay, that's episode 51, yeah. But check out, just do a search, just to have a look through the podcast, if you listen to Apple or you listen to Spotify or whatever it is, and check out James's episode if you haven't listened to it already. And while we're talking as well, you should have your phone open and looking at Instagram, or just check out the Instagram if you haven't. It's Porsche or porscheplatz, P-L-A-T-Z, on Instagram. So go and check out James's Instagram and give him a follow as well. And you can check out the cars he's had and the questions that I will ask today, because there's a few updates that James has which I'm interested in, because you've just recently acquired another SC, haven't you, James?
Yeah, that's right, the red one. So our guard's red. A nice Australian delivered one. So
we're going to talk about that because it looks pretty special on your Instagram. And I did see one, or there's still one for sale on Car Sales, I think, but I want to talk to you about that. I'm sure you've seen that one as well. So we'll just start with the usual. So I just want to say, no new Patreon members this week. Patreon, if you don't know about it already, is just where we get some support for the podcast. It's just a bit of support. It just helps us keep talking. If you just go to Patreon and you search PorscheCooled or PorscheCooled, it comes up straight away, and you can just join through their site. What I'm going to do, though, when I'm back in London in a few weeks, I'm going to get some stickers made up, actually, some PorscheCooled stickers. And my wife, Natasha, is a designer, so to speak, and she will design the sticker. And I'm just going to give those away to you guys. I'm not going to charge anything for it, not just for PorscheCooled members, not just for Patreon members, but for everyone. So I'll just give you those stickers. So as once they're made and once they're ready to send out, I'll reach out somehow and get your guys' addresses for anyone that wants a sticker. PorscheCooled owner stories this week. James, did you listen to Nick's story?
Yeah, I did. I listened to Nick's story today, actually.
Okay.
Quite a good story.
Sorry?
Quite a good story.
Yeah, there's similarities between you and him in a way. That's why I was wondering if you guys have ever crossed paths in Melbourne.
I think we've crossed paths once at a racetrack, but I don't know him personally, but there's no doubt we've been on the track together.
Yeah, because he's enjoyed that 997 GT3 track experience. He didn't change up to a Cup car like you.
Yep.
And he bought one of the...
I think I remember seeing it out at a racetrack a few years back.
Right. So for you guys that haven't listened to it yet, that's PorscheCooled owner stories this week, and it's Nick from Melbourne. And Nick now currently owns a 991.2 Carrera in GT Silver and manual, one that he purchased new. He spec'd it exactly the way he wanted it. It's a pretty nice car. I mean, it's quite a pure car. I've known Nick... I don't know Nick personally. I've never met Nick, and that was the first time we've actually spoken face-to-face. But Nick's been following me through my social obsession with YouTube and all of this for, since about 2017 when I first started, or 2016. But he's owned many Porsches. He's had 911s. He's had Boxsters. And there's a funny story in there about his aunt that used to work for a TV show in Australia called Beyond 2000, which was wasn't it, James, a very popular show at the time, Beyond 2000. Do you remember it?
Yeah, it was. When I was young, I used to watch that. So, I thought that was quite interesting, his aunt going over to Germany. what was it? Review the 959.
To review and drive the 959. I guess it's futuristic looking cars. That was the future.
Yeah.
And then she had a slight mishap in it as well, apparently. So anyway, listen to Nick's story. It's a good one. It's on the podcast. It came up yesterday, Tuesday. Sorry, I'm recording this on Wednesday, but it came up Tuesday. Next week I have Eric coming on, and Eric is from the US, and Eric's got a 997.1 911, same as mine, and he's also got a 986 Boxster, and it's a good story because he bought them, James, at the same time. And basically, the Boxster is the one because the 997 has the warranty, the Porsche warranty. The Boxster is the one he's kind of modding up and doing things to, so he can have a bit of fun with it. Because that obviously had no warranty. But he bought them basically the day after each other. So he bought one and then went back and bought another one. So
okay, that's a good combination. One to play with, one to drive.
Yeah. So one's going to be his little fun car. Apple ratings and reviews. Like I said, to support the podcast as well, if you go to Apple, give us a star rating, give us a review. Those things all help to get us to the position of number one Porsche podcast. I know there's other people who are the number one Porsche podcast, but if you keep rating and review us, maybe we'll get there eventually. And then there's this Clubhouse app thing. Now, I know, James, you've joined. I gave you an invitation. I haven't really worked out that app. There seems to be a lot of car people on there, like quite influential car people, if you follow the right people and join the right clubs. I think there's some good conversation. I listened to something the other day and it was quite interesting. It wasn't about Porsche, it was about something else. I'm not 100% sure what to do with it yet, but it could be okay.
I haven't worked it out totally yet, but I've had to listen to a couple of conversations and classic cars and the car market in general and so on. There's some Porsche content there. The one that you flicked over to me.
Yeah.
I had a quick listen to that. So yeah, there's some. There seems to be in the US a lot of the dealers are on there. People that work for Porsche are on there. I don't know how they find time for it.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of. I noticed that actually. There's quite a lot of people that work for Porsche on there. And in the chats, there was a chat the other day, and one of the head, I think it was the marketing guy actually for the US that was in a chat that I was just listening to.
Yeah, I was listening to that.
Yeah. But anyway, Clubhouse, I don't know why. They keep sending me more invites. I mean, maybe it's because I'm using them up or whatever. I don't know, or joining clubs, but they keep sending me more invites. I don't have anyone to give them to. I have 4 more invites that they've sent me. So if you know anyone, James, if anyone you know that wants this invite, just let me know. You have to be on iPhone. You have to send me your mobile cell number because that's how it recognizes you. But I have 4 more invites if you guys know anyone that wants to be on it already. Have you?
Yeah, I got 5 if anyone wants them.
Yes, this is what I mean. They just keep. At first, they gave me 2. Then I got rid of those. Then they gave me another 3. Now they've given me another 4.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know how it works.
All right, that's not the housekeeping, but let's call it the housekeeping. But I want to ask you: have you seen? I had a message from a guy in Sydney that chats to me occasionally on Instagram, David, and David, he drives a 911 Carrera T, actually. He's got a GT Silver 911 Carrera T. And he sent me the link. Classic Throttle Shop in Sydney has a Irish green paint-to-sample GT3 Touring for sale, James.
Oh, what year? Or what is it? Is it 991 or?
991, yeah, the GT3 Touring 991. The special one. Car. The special one, yeah. The one that everyone says is exactly the same as the 911R, but we all know it really isn't that one.
Yeah. No, I quite like them. I mean, any of the GT cars are going to be good. Yeah, I just love anything GT. I'll accept it. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, this one's really well spec'd. I mean, it's got ceramics. Like I said, it's paint to sample Irish green. It's got the basic standard seats. It's almost 400K, I think. I think it was 390 or 400K.
Wow,
but
okay.
Yeah, but that was yesterday. I don't know whether David's bought it. Maybe David has bought it. I'm not sure. I know he listens to the podcast, but now it's on hold. It's already gone.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few down here. Anything GT just seems to move quite quickly. I think we had down here two yellow 996 GT3s come up for sale, and they were gone within a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah, I saw that at Porsche Den, right?
That's right. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure they were sold before they hit the Instagram feed or the web page. I mean, you know, that's what you do as a dealer. You put it on your web page. So, yeah, they're moving very quickly now.
Yeah, I saw that. He put it on Instagram that they were coming up, and then I went to the website to see what the price was or see what they were asking for it. And they weren't even listed on the website at the time, the two of them, because he said he had both Speed Yellow 996.1, 996.2, but they weren't even on the website as yet.
That's right. Apparently the prices were, I think, $215 or $220 and for the 0.2, and the 0.1 was about $214 apparently.
That's getting up there, isn't it?
It's getting up there. That's going off a forum that I frequent, so that's the word. One of the guys on the forum was actually his car, but anyway.
Oh, it was his car, was it?
That was for sale, yes. The 0.1, I think it was. So, that's the word going around. It's that sort of price now, but very clean cars. Very, very clean, immaculate cars. Low kilometres.
Yeah, I just spoke to John in Norway, and I think I might have mentioned it last week. I spoke to John for a owner stories that's coming up in a few weeks, and he bought he came out of an M2 that he was using on the track. He's from Norway, and he was using it on the track, and he was going to Germany and doing track days on the ring.
Yep.
And he's bought a 996.2 Speed Yellow GT3.
Oh, nice.
And it's pretty nice. He works for Maguire's in Norway, and it's a really, really nice example. And he just changed the wheels out at Christmas. He just splurged and bought some BBS CH wheels or something. The really expensive ones, the really cool ones. So he's put those on there. So it looks pretty special. They're a nice looking car, the 0.2, I have to say.
Yeah, the 0.2 is quite nice. The 0.1 at the moment in Australia seems to be going crazy. I mean, people are, asking. I get SMSs and emails about them. Can I find one? Is there any available? I helped a friend sell one a couple of weeks ago. Sold that within 2 hours. So
is that the price? Is that the price of the 996 GT3 now? Is it hit 200 for a 0.1? Is that where they're sitting? 0.1s and 0.2s are over 200?
No, well, I mean, if it's an extremely clean example, everything's perfect. It's got its book, service history, very low kilometres. They're possibly getting that sort of price. Collectors are buying them. But your average, well-used 0.1 or 0.2 is still going to be in the maybe mid to high hundreds. Okay. Somewhere there, depending on what the car is and what the history is.
Yeah.
I've got a collector friend that, he's asking nearly $400,000 for essentially a brand new one. Okay. It's got 125 kilometres, as in 125. That's it. The car was purchased brand new to go racing, but never was used.
Okay. They're not the ones that were for sale in Melbourne, were they? Where quite a few of them came up. The GT3 RS 997, the GT3 996. That's not that person, is it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. So I'm a good friend of his. I'll be down at his place on Friday. We do a few things together, and I help him sell some cars. That's. Just essentially it's a brand new car that's 20 years old.
Is that car still with that dealer in Melbourne? Because I noticed it's gone now. You've taken it off.
It's sitting in the workshop, at his workshop, so it's not on their website.
But a few of them did sell, didn't they? Did a few sell from that dealer or not? Because there was quite a handful of them that came up all at once.
I'm not sure if all of them sold. Maybe one did. I think at the end of the day there was only about 4 or 5 cars that he listed with that dealer in Melbourne.
Yeah. 997.2 GT3 was a good one too. That was, I think, high 300s or something, wasn't it?
RS.
Was it RS? Maybe it was RS.
Was it? I think it's the RS. I think it's...
Okay. Oh. Let's talk about that now, actually, because we're talking about buying and selling cars. So you sent me a message the other day. So you've got your dealer's license. So you're doing is it like a special service, like a concierge type of service where you find cars for people? It's more of that sort of, you know.
No, it's essentially just an independent Porsche dealer. So I've got my dealer's license here in Victoria, in Australia, and I'm basically just what I've almost been doing for the last 20 years, buying and selling Porsches. I thought I'd just, do it a bit more professionally.
It's a good idea. Have you got a website or anything yet? How can people?
We're creating a website at the moment. The company's called RSR Classic. So we're creating the website at the moment. The website, to be honest, is just a formality. Most of the time, these cars, I sell them before they're even publicised.
So are you dealing with, we have a lot of listeners from Australia, but we also have a lot of listeners obviously from US and UK. Are you dealing with international clients as well? How does that work?
I have done in the past. So more so on the race cars and some special cars, like I mentioned in the owner story, the Carrera 3 litre, things like that. So if it's something really special, yeah, sure, I can put it on the international market. But most of the time, I'd be selling within Australia to whoever's willing to.
So RSR, wasn't there a dealer in Melbourne before called RSR? Or am I getting confused?
Yeah, that was Rob Bramer. So he was, unfortunately, he passed away about 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yes.
So I've always had that name from nearly 20 years ago, so I've never used it.
Okay.
But I've always had that name, so I thought I'd just make it official. And
look, I think it's a great idea. I mean, from our conversation last time, and watching your Instagram, you always seem to find cars easily. I don't know. You always seem to find these cars, and you find them at the right price. Even from your Japan, finding the cars in Japan, and finding these cup cars. So you've had a lot of inquiries. Have people reached out to you and wanting you to find things for them already?
Yeah, look, at the moment it seems to be quite hot, the 996.1 GT3. I did find another one today, so hopefully I can secure that one. So an old contact. I do have a lot of old contacts that, being around these cars for 20 plus years now, a lot of the guys that I knew from back then are obviously getting on in age, and people have different priorities, their collections. They might want to be, thinning out their collections and so on.
Yeah.
So it's, I quite enjoy it. It's what I've been doing for a long time, and I just thought I'd step it up and make it a bit more professional.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, and like I said, it probably helps people as well, because if you're looking for something for them, you know what to look for. You have that knowledge that it's not. I'm not saying you don't do a PPI or whatever. We're big PPI fans here, but you know what to look for, so you can kind of narrow it down for them before you actually show them the car that they're looking for. Correct?
Oh, definitely. I've helped a lot of people over the years to find a particular car they want. Or when an opportunity presents itself, I'd say, go look at that thing. If it checks out, buy it. And I've been doing that long enough to find the cars that are quite reasonable. I mean, in the early years, you might make a mistake here or there, but just wait a couple of years and they appreciate in value. But that's all behind. That's all years ago when they were a lot cheaper. I guess nowadays we all do things, we certainly get PPIs, we check everything out properly. So,
we'll get onto the SCs in a second. I want to know, what do you think about, so I read an article yesterday actually about Porsche increasing its stake in Rimac or however you pronounce it, automobile. So Rimac is the people who's helped Porsche with their electrification, I think, is with the electrification, of their range, of their cars. And I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. Do you think that Porsche is going to bring out? It's been a long time since they had a supercar, so to speak. The Carrera GT, then they had the 918 Spider. Do you think it's about time that they're going to bring out something special, like an electric type car? Like maybe it's going to compete with that Tesla Roadster that people have been putting orders down for in the US, which doesn't come out until 2022 or something.
I'm sure Porsche have got something in the pipeline. There is simply no way they couldn't. Like, they'd have to have something in the pipeline over at Weissach or somewhere, some secret warehouse in Germany.
Yeah. And I was listening to Spike's Car Radio. I think it was a couple of episodes ago, and I think it was Spike's Car Radio, and someone led on, or he led on to the fact that there's something really special coming from Porsche. Like, they'd heard that something really special was coming from Porsche. So maybe it
has to be, absolutely. A company of that size and that sort of history that it has, there's no reason why they wouldn't. I mean, they've got their Taycans now. They're completely electric cars. They just hit the market here in Australia. The first deliveries were last week. They were absolutely everywhere. I was spotting them everywhere, so
really?
That was quite good.
So they've been that popular in Australia. They've really taken them up.
Absolutely. Yeah. The launch was on Saturday. First deliveries were Monday. And around this area, I saw them, heaps of them.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good, because I'm still not certain about. I mean, I love the look of it. I think it looks. I've only seen one, and I saw it in London, and it was in black. It's smaller than I thought. It's lower than I thought. By all the people that review it, you sit very low in the car as well. Like, that's what's kind of nice about it. Apparently, the center of gravity, you sit really low, like a 911. But I'm still worried about that charging network. I don't know if Australia has. I don't know about Melbourne, and I haven't been back to Australia for a couple of years now, but I know in the UK there's a big charging network, and I've mentioned this before, but I watched that video from Shimmy 150, and he had the Taycan Turbo that he bought, or Turbo S or whatever it was, and he struggled with charging that car in the UK. So what is it going to be like in Australia?
I think it'll be fine. I mean, I know that there's plenty of charging stations around, and even on the main highway from Melbourne to Sydney, there's charging stations. So obviously going out back, in complete remote areas, there's obviously not going to be charging stations. You still have the option to, I guess, slow charge it with normal power point. But the fast charging stations, they're certainly popping up. They're in shopping centre car parks. They're in city buildings where car parks. You see them around. You certainly see them.
I guess you can understand that the Taycan would do very well, though, because I remember the Tesla Model S is everywhere in Sydney. In the area where Tasha's parents live, it's like they're just everywhere in that North Shore suburb. They're just they're a dime a dozen. Like they're they're a cheap car.
Yeah, I really like the Taycan. I mean, and I was driving actually in Red SC. And I spotted 3 or 4 of them in a line, and it was obviously the dealers taking people out on a drive. So I've come up past them at the lights, and they're all looking at me, and I gave them a wave. I thought, this is pretty cool. You got the latest and greatest technology from Porsche, and everyone's kind of hanging out the window looking at my Red SC.
Yeah, and at the time of the SC, people would never have thought that Porsche would be doing electric cars either. That's the weird thing. You take yourself back in time. So what do you think of, this week, obviously a few days ago, or was it last week, they launched the Cross Turismo. And I have a friend in the UK actually who's considering it. He messaged me last night. He's considering one to replace his SUV and have it alongside his 911. Would you be tempted by an electric Porsche, by a Taycan or a Gran Turismo? Cross Turismo?
Possibly a Taycan. I could do that for, I don't know, can you use them as a family car? Are they two doors, 4 doors?
4 doors.
They're 4 doors, okay. That's how much attention I paid to them. They look so sleek and you can't even tell where the doors are. Look, I could see myself driving one of those. Don't know what size of, luggage capacity is and so on, but I really like them. I like the look of them. The SUV, I don't know, haven't seen it yet. So,
well, it's like the Cross Turismo looks more like a Panamera. The Panamera, really, it looks like the Panamera. It looks like a wagon. It doesn't really look like an SUV. Right, okay. It's kind of half and half. That how Porsche do that with the Panamera as well. It's more wagon-like. I guess they are going to bring out the Macan. Obviously, the next generation of the Macan is going to be purely electrified. Apparently, it's going to be all electric.
I think that's probably going to be a bigger seller.
Yes.
More usable, I guess, for the Australian market and the US market. I'm sure there's plenty of Macans in Europe as well. I think as a usable car, the Macan or even the Cayenne, once they become electrified, that will be, I mean, that's obviously the direction Porsche is going.
Yes.
We know that their 911, well, what they're saying is that they're going to continue making that in a petrol version. Not to say there won't be an electric version, but
yeah, true. I still think there'll be an electric version of the 911 at the end of this generation. I don't know. Maybe it's the next one, but I have a funny feeling at point 2 they'll bring out something that is part, either electric or part electric 911. They'll do something. I mean, you've got that company, and I forget where it is in Europe. Have you heard about this company? It's called, it starts with a V, and I can't remember the name, Voisteiner and they do a kit. They do a kit, which is an electric kit, which goes into your 997 and 991. It fits, and I think they're looking at doing it for the air-cooled. And it basically is a kit that just sort of bolts on, and it literally gives you 140 more horsepower on a 997.
Okay.
So it's like
and is that an electric motor?
Yeah, it's an electric motor that gets, and I should know that I wasn't going to talk about this, but I just thought about it. It gets, I don't know what it replaces. It replaces something and then it gives you this extra power, and it's getting a bit of a following. Yeah. I'll send you the link after we've done, because it's quite an interesting thing for someone who has a 997 or picks up one cheap, and you put this on there. I mean, you're getting a lot of extra power in just a base 911, 997 or
might solve the IMS problem.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know actually how they deal with that. But maybe with air cooled, it could actually work really well though, James, because just to get that little bit of extra boost,
Yeah, I have seen air cools, being converted to electric. There's a few things on YouTube, and I guess that's kind of a simple conversion. I'm not sure exactly how they work. But yeah, I have seen air cools converted to electric. I haven't seen this 996, 997 generation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing a bit of a search now.
That'll be cool, to replace the IMS bearing or all the motors that keep failing all the time. So
yeah. I don't know. I can't. It starts with V. I can't find it now. I'm doing a search, but I can't find it. But we'll talk about it again in another episode. But also, let's forget about electric, because we still like, we like our petrol. We like our naturally aspirated. Thoughts on the new GT3? Now, I liked it when it first came out. I liked the look of it. I'm not keen on the launch color. Now I've seen more images of it. I do like AP's one, the head of Porsche GT, who's got the silver one that he's had, which looks okay. I'm still not. I guess you need to see it in real life, like the 992 Carreras and Carrera S's. The wing looks a little bit clunky in some angles. I thought in the launch car it looked quite clean at the back. What do you think of it? Have you read much about it? What do you think of this new GT3?
From the photos I've seen, and I understand what you're saying about the different colours, how it can, make a car look different. Sometimes, certain colours make a car look wider, narrower, all that sort of business. I quite like the thing. I mean, the rear wing is, I don't know, it's a bit, there's a lot going on there in that back section. But I still like the car overall. I'm sure when I see it in real life, I'll probably think it's just way too big. But then again, it's going to be faster. It's going to be more stable on the track. Very racy look, very aggressive.
Do you think, because going back to your owner's stories when you were talking about the 997 and you basically said, you were out driving it. You told me you were out driving it and you had to change up, you know what I mean, when you had the 997 GT3. Yep. And now this new GT3, and my criticism is it looks a little bit, and I got pulled up on this on an Instagram DM by somebody. But my point was it's too motorsport, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not really sure what Porsche are doing, where it really does become, it looks more like a track car. You know what I mean? It looks like they're trying to narrow that band, James. You've driven 997s, 996 Cup cars. You've been on the track. You think this is going to be a better track experience?
Oh, absolutely. It'll certainly be faster. And I think they're trying to, exactly what you're saying, they're trying to narrow that band of buyers that want to be focused on the track. This is obviously my opinion. They want to focus the track guys to buy the GT3, and maybe the people that want to think in between, there'll be the touring model or even whatever the highest spec GTS or whatever it might be in the 911. It looks extremely racy. I quite like it because obviously motorsport background. Would I drive it every day? Probably not.
No, exactly.
And then I think for the price they're charging nowadays, you probably would only use it on certain occasions on the track and so on.
I'd hate to think the waiting list in Australia, and I'd hate to think what the price is going to be and what those people who are reselling them straight away, what that price will be. Like, is it going to get close to a GT3 RS price? Does the GT3 RS 991.2 now look really appealing? Is that the sort of thing you got to look for secondhand, and that's what you should be buying into? Or should you wait for the new GT3? I mean, I like the front of the new GT3. I know Steve said to me he didn't like the front. I like the front. I'm not convinced with the back, and it does really depend on the color, but I'm not completely convinced.
Look, I like it overall. Overall, I like the car, but that's just going off photos. And sure, that rear wing looks a bit, I don't know, it looks a bit busy. I can't get my head around it, but seeing the Cup cars, and obviously they're trying to do the more racy look, I'm sure I'll love it when I see it.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes with that car in a showroom and walking around it, and I'm sure I'll be over the moon with it.
Yeah, but I think you're right. It's going to look huge. It's going to look a lot bigger, and it's going to be one of those cars where people drive their GT3 cars as a daily car or drive them around. It looks like it's not that sort of car anymore to me. It looks really does look like it's.
I don't think that anyone's going to daily that car.
Yeah.
Whereas you could daily a 997 or a 996 any day of the week, and a 991.
Yeah, true.
I won't say I see plenty of them, but I do see them every now and again being used in traffic and so on because they were easy to drive.
Yes. I'm
sure the new one's easier to drive as well, but it's just so racy.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I just want to say, what do I want to say? 912s. I'm still looking for a 912, James, even though they're not very fast. I'm still keen on it. I haven't lost the passion for it. My wife doesn't really, she's not that keen on them. She doesn't really get them.
I'm trying to convert you to an SC.
Yeah, I know. And then I looked at 912Es for a while, and then I thought, I think Mark from Mark and Cars in Melbourne in Perth said to me, do you really want one with a Volkswagen engine? And then he kind of put me off it straight away, and I thought, oh no, I don't want a 912E. And then you with the SCs, looking at your Instagram and seeing these SCs come up, and then I saw that one on car sales in Australia, which is the one I thought you bought, but it's still there. There's a red SC there, isn't there? That a guy had. He put it at one price, he put it up, and then he put it back down again. That one.
Yeah. I've seen that car on car sales. That car doesn't have the correct engine in it. It's got a 2.7 in it.
Oh, really?
So once you read down the wording of the ad, it's clearly an SC. I believe it's a factory right-hand drive, so it's possibly a UK or Hong Kong car. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then it doesn't have the correct engine in it. It's got a 2.7 in it. And he states that quite clearly, so he's not hiding it.
I obviously didn't read down far enough. I just thought it looked in really good condition. It looked very, very good condition. So tell me what happened, because I want to talk about the Cup car as well. But let's just talk about the SC first. I see your Instagram. I send you a message. You've got a white one. And then the white one disappears and it becomes a red one. So how did you end up with the white SC? And what happened, James? What happened?
Okay, so a friend of mine sent me a message and said, a guy I know is selling a 911 SC. It's got a fiberglass body kit on it. And I said, fine, I'll go have a look at it. He's owned it for 30-something years.
Okay.
So I went and looked at it. We did a deal. That was fine. And I said to the owner of the car, I said, look, I'm taking quite a big risk on this, and if it's got a broken head stud, well, it's no good to me. The car will get parted out. Because it was fairly cheap. It was modified. The body was modified, but the interior, the engine and everything underneath was perfectly as it was. It was a German delivered car converted to right-hand drive.
Okay.
So I flicked a photo of that to one of my good friends who works on a lot of these cars in his own little private workshop. He doesn't do any work for anyone else. Just basically works on these cars for himself. He's got a little collection there. And I said, I'm looking at this. What do you think? And he goes, because you have to sell me this car.
Really?
I said, if I find something better, I'll sell you it.
Why did he want it so much?
He wants to turn it into a 935.
Oh, okay.
Because finding a running car in Australia of a 911, a non-sunroof coupe is very hard at the moment. And it's been hard for quite a while. People are asking crazy money just for body shells.
Okay.
And there's not really many around. So here we had a complete running and driving car that was in very good condition but had some body modifications to it. So you'll see, obviously on my Instagram photo, I didn't even take a photo of the outside of the car.
Right.
So anyway, and I said to him, look, if I find something better, I will sell you this car. We worked out a price, and I said, this is what it owes me. He goes, fine, no problem. So I found something better.
Okay. So that was it. So what did you find?
So I'll go back to the white SC lasted about, 6 weeks in my garage. And I found one night on car sales, as I'm always looking, as clearly everybody is.
Yes.
I found a very nice or very original 79 911 SC. Now,
okay.
I do remember seeing this car 4 years ago or 5 years ago for sale at a dealer just near me. So I remembered the car. The seller is a really good guy, well known in the Porsche community. So the ad comes up on car sales here in Australia, and I looked at it and I've gone, yeah, I know this car, and I know the seller. So I don't know the seller personally, but I know of the seller.
Yes.
So I gave him a call and said, what is it, what isn't it, and so on, and it ended up it's a 5 or 6 owner car, completely original. We are, everything is 100% original on it. I will, it does have it has had a respray, but being guard red, it's very hard to, I guess, keep original paint. It always fades.
Yes.
But everything apart from the paint is pretty much as it rolled out of the factory.
Okay.
Or out of the dealership here in Melbourne.
Yeah, it looks pretty in pretty good nick. I mean, I must have missed that one because because of you, I do actually look at SCs now all the time. I'm looking on UK sites and I'm looking on car sales, but I must have missed that one. You must have picked it up really quickly.
It wasn't up long. So basically, I gave him a call and he said to me, "Oh, look, the dealer that I bought it from is going to send a truck in the morning and give me a check in the morning." And I said, "Oh, has he given you a deposit?" He goes, "No." I said, "Well, here's mine." So
you gazumped them. Is that what you call it? Gazumped? Isn't that the word?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, as a seller, from his point of view, it's you better take the money that's on the table than we turn up the next morning and, oh, no, oh, this, oh, that. So, look, knowing the car and seeing the car and then going through all its history, matching numbers, Australian delivered, so that's obviously quite important here in Australia. For some reason in other countries it may not be, but and also the car was originally purchased by the people that had the advertising account for Porsche Cars Australia.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 70s, 80s, and even up until 2014, apparently.
Right.
The same people had that account, the same advertising agency.
Yeah. I mean, I think Steve knows of them. I think Steve mentioned he knows of that company. Yeah. Okay,
so the guy that originally bought it spec'd it with no sunroof, which is just, I really like non-sunroof coupes.
Yeah.
There was not too many options, but just a nice original 911 SC. So, needs a little bit of a paint correction.
Sorry, James, what was that?
It needs a little bit of a paint correction, but, that doesn't take away from what the car is.
But the quality of the paint is okay, though. There's nothing wrong with it. Just needs to be detailed.
Yeah, look, the quality of the paint's quite good, but it just needs some correction in a couple of spots. And
But mechanically, it's perfect.
Mechanically, it's sensational. It's had a rebuild. There's receipts there. The only thing I might do is change to SSI, an SSI exhaust.
Right.
So I've got an original set of the original Type 1s, so not the later remanufactured ones. So I might put that on. But apart from that, it's going to stay as is.
Perfect. So what is it? I'm sure the listeners are going, what is it about the SC? Because you've owned a few now, haven't you? You bought one from Japan originally. How many SCs have you owned?
7.
7. Okay. See, that we didn't even talk about all of them, did we? You've owned 7 SCs, in the owner stories you said, I want to get another SC. That was what you said to me because you sold that 944, wasn't it? 924.
924 turbo.
Yeah, the 924 turbo in that green color. You sold that, and then you said, "Then I want to get another SC." So what is it about the SC? I mean, a lot of listeners and a lot of people who chat to me on DMs and stuff. A lot of people are looking at the 3.2 Carrera. Whatever gearbox it should be. They're kind of looking at that more. Do you think the SC is still a little bit like what the 99 is? It still not as sought after? Why is it not as sought after? Because you actually really like it.
I really like the SCs because they're a lot more simple than a 3.2. I've owned a 3.2 and I found it to be not as lively, a little bit sluggish.
Okay.
Now that was I think it was an 84 or 85 model, so it may not have had the latest and greatest engine in it, but it was still a 3.2. It was a very original car. It was not modified at all. I really like the SC because it's a usable classic. For me, it's just a usable classic. You can jump in and drive. You don't get tired in it, provided the car's looked after and is in good condition. It's a usable classic, and I like the way they drive. I think they drive better than a 3.2 just because of the weight.
Is it a lighter car? It weighs less than the 3.2? Quite a lot.
Yeah, it's got less items on it.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the later 3.2s, there was always more emission controls. There was always more things, and there was just more. And then obviously they made a larger engine. The argument about the G50 gearbox and the 915, personally, I've driven them both. Sure, the 915s are not a good gearbox. The G50 is a good gearbox, but a nice 915 is almost the same.
So it's more. So the gearbox debate with 915 and 950, the gearbox, the G50. Is that purely due to maintenance, you think? It's because the car's not well maintained. Yeah. So if you get a good one, there's nothing wrong with that. Because I know Nick in Melbourne, who's on Owner Stories, he actually said in a comment on my YouTube channel, because I had Mark on from the UK, who's got the Cassis Red, Cassis Red 3.2 Carrera. And he said the G50 and other people have said the same thing. And Nick said, oh, well, actually, the other one is actually just as good. The 915 is just as good.
It is just as good as long as it's maintained. I've driven, bad 915 gearboxes and good 915 gearboxes. The good 915 gearbox is just as equal to the G50. I think the G50 doesn't, how can I put it, deteriorate or, probably needs less maintenance.
Okay.
And that's probably why they're more popular. You can jump in any kind of G50 and it feels good. But a well-maintained 915 to me is just the same.
I guess you do pay quite a bit of a premium, right? You would know this now because you're going to start to source these and sell them. The premium between a G50 is quite a bit more, isn't it? It's in Australia, it definitely is.
Oh, yeah, it's quite a bit. And, personally, to get a car that's heavier just for the better gearbox and the larger engine, kind of cancels itself out when the SC is lighter, and with tiny modifications like just a simple exhaust system like a set of SSIs just livens up the SC. I mean, you don't need to do anything to the SC, just put a set of SSIs on it and a good muffler.
Tell the listeners SSI. What is that? What is the benefit of what is the SSI and what's the benefit?
Just a free-flowing exhaust. It's basically they were made. I hope I don't get this wrong, but they were made for the early cars that had mechanical fuel injection. So they're quite a free-flowing exhaust.
Okay.
So a really good upgrade to any of the SCs. I mean, I think they're the best exhaust you can put on. They do remanufacture them now. I think it's Danks make them now.
Oh, okay.
And then
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you can just basically bolt them on and you've got a good performance upgrade and a wonderful sound.
So if you buy an SC, that's pretty much all you need to do. Apart from maintenance, that's all you need to do.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
The way I like my SC, yes.
Okay. And you've owned a lot of SCs, as you just said. Is this the best one you've had? One of the best ones you've had?
One of the best. There was another one that was same as the same colour, Guards Red. It was a former track car, so it had a really good setup on it. Had the SSIs, and I'm sure there were other little bits of modifications to it. That was a really nice, quick car. That was a later car, had a bit more power. But as just for an everyday, well, obviously it's not going to be an everyday car, but as a usable classic to drive around, and it's certainly not a track car. This one is really nice. I just love original cars. Yeah.
No, it looks beautiful. So you choose SCs basically because of the driving experience. You find it more engaging. You find it more. It's a rawer experience. It's a more
Yeah. Comparing it to the 3.2 I had, I'd take the SC any day.
Okay. Well, that's good advice because you've owned a lot of 911s and you've had the experience with track cars, cup cars, etc. Do you think it's a car, and I always like to, I always think about this when I'm talking about other models. Do you think it's a car a 911 that someone should buy as their first 911?
The SC, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was my first 911.
Really? Okay.
The first car I could afford many years ago was the 911 SC, a Japanese.
The Japanese one. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
One, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was my first car and my first Porsche 911. They were affordable back then. They're, I guess, in the order today, I guess they're still kind of affordable if you're looking at air cooled.
It's a strange thing, the SC market, though, isn't it? I mean, you would have it seems like there's in Australia. Is it somewhere between 80 and 120,000? Is that where the SC seems to be sitting? It seems to be
a good one, an Australian delivered one, yes.
Yeah, Australian delivered.
Listeners in other parts of the world are probably thinking, why does he keep talking about Australian delivered?
Yeah.
For some reason, there's a premium in this country, in Australia, that everyone wants their Australian delivered car.
Yes.
Now, you give me a German or a UK car or a car that's come out of the US, that's the same quality and is the same spec and is exactly the same. They are the same.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with importing a UK 911 and bringing it to Australia. I don't have a problem with the right-hand drive, with the UK version. And like you said, you don't get as much money when you sell it. People always say, the salt on the roads are going to be a rust bucket if you get it from the UK, which is not always the case. Not always the case. But it is that thing, isn't it, about having Australian delivered and Australian delivered cars. I sent someone a link the other day, James. I think it was I sent it to Mark in the UK, actually. I think it was a 930 Turbo that had come up somewhere, and the price was just crazy. I think it was 400,000 or something. It was just absolutely insane. Compared to UK prices even. I know they're high in the UK, but they're not that high.
For some reason, what I sort of put it down to is people want a car that was delivered locally and they'll pay a premium for a locally delivered car. When it comes to sell the car, it's a lot easier. You've got your books, you can trace its history, and maybe it's got to do with tracing its history.
Yeah.
Particularly with the SE that I've just purchased now. You open the books up, you can see every dealer or every Porsche Centre it's been to, and you know where those dealers are, you know the people.
Yeah.
Maybe that's got something to do with it. Big stack of receipts to reflect all those dealer stamps.
So it was a Victorian delivered car. It was delivered in Melbourne.
The car's never been out of Victoria.
Never been out of Victoria. Wow, that's a rare. Yeah. That's very rare. So what
as an ownership?
Yeah. So what is with the new venture with the finding Porsches for people? What are some of the cars people are asking you to find? Is there anything really rare that you've been asked to find?
There are a couple of rare cars. 356s and certain 356s and very specific models, and early 911s like 65 911s. That's going to be pretty hard.
They're expensive as well.
Yeah, they are. So a couple of the...
There is one for sale though, isn't there? There's one for sale. Isn't it Export 56 in the UK? There's one for sale in the UK, actually. I saw it come up.
Yeah, but sometimes these guys want Australian delivered.
All right. That's going to be really... That's like finding a right-hand drive 912 in Australia. Do they exist?
Probably not. Probably not. I'm sure there are, but probably not. So some of the collectors I talk to are very specific in what they want, and they're willing to pay for that. That's not an issue. That's a good, obviously a good position to be in. I did sell a GT3 Cup car that was owned by Jim Richards, quite a famous racing driver in Australia, and that car had been sitting in a collection for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
So I did sell that car to another collector.
That would have been an expensive purchase.
I probably set a record for the price of a 996 Cup car.
Wow.
So, it's definitely the most expensive one in Australia. And around the world, I don't think they're getting that sort of price. So that was quite a good deal there. Collector was happy to pay for that money, and that's what he said to me. He goes, that's the car I want, and it was off market. No one knew about that sale, so
that's good though. It sounds like a good thing you've got going though. It's exciting. It's interesting too. You know what I mean? It's just good to be involved in it and do it, and find these cars for people that are looking for it. It's kind of like you're buying it for yourself, but you're not. You know what I mean? Because you search it out and then the other person's happy. It's kind of a good process.
Technically, I do buy all these cars. By law, I have to buy them, so I do buy them all.
Oh, you do buy them all?
Yeah. So by law, as we are in Victoria,
okay,
as a dealer, I have to own these cars to sell them.
Oh, okay. There you go. You're increasing your collection.
They may not be in my hands for more than a day.
So tell the listeners about the Cup car, because if you guys will remember last time James was on, he was talking about he picked up the Fitzgerald racing car, Cup car 996, and you were going to restore it. I've seen you've restored it. It looks really good in the decals and everything. You've done a really good job. How was that process? Was it an easy process to get it back to the level you wanted it to be?
Overall, it was pretty straightforward. It wasn't. Cup cars are not that complicated, particularly the 996 or 997. Overall, the complete exterior restoration went well. The signage went on. The new windows went in. So that was all pretty straightforward. It was, obviously the car was quite good to start with mechanically and set up. It was completely set up and it was all perfect that way. So I didn't really have to play around with any mechanicals. The gearbox was already rebuilt and the engine is brilliant, doesn't need a rebuild.
Yep.
So then, once it was all finished up, took it to the racetrack.
I saw that video. Steve and I commented about it on a podcast. I don't know whether you heard it, but we both thought it sounded amazing. Like Steve said, that sounds so good.
It does sound good, yeah. So, took it to the track and, it was, just tippy-toeing around in the first session and just making sure everything was right. And honestly, I didn't even look at the car. Like, it was just drive it, park it, drive it, park it. It was just perfect.
It didn't look like you were going that fast.
No, well, the track here in Northern Victoria is not a fast circuit. It's not really I don't think you can get into fifth gear. It's not a fast circuit at all. So to test a car, it's quite a good place.
Right.
Now that I've tested it up there, to go to Phillip Island, where the World Superbikes go now,
yes.
I guess. That I've got no hesitation going to Phillip Island now that I know what the car is and it didn't do anything silly.
No, it was good. It was good you did the video. For people who haven't seen it, for the listeners who haven't seen it, what's his YouTube channel? Outlaw Garage, something else, right?
Outlaw Garage, yeah.
Outlaw Garage on YouTube, and James has taken him for a drive. What's the guy's name again? I forget his name.
You put me on the spot there. People moving out again, I forgot.
I know, I forgot too. Anyway, check out Outlaw Garage. James is driving his Cup car, the Fitzgerald racing car that he restored, and it's really good. The sound of it is just amazing. So what's happening with that car? You're not keeping it?
No, so I'm going to put it up for sale on Collecting Cars.
Okay.
So Collecting Cars, I've got their Australian sort of side of business down here. So I think the photos for that are going to happen tomorrow or Friday.
Okay.
That's going to go up on their website within a week, I guess. We'll auction it off, see how we go.
So can the listeners who are listening and thinking, I want that 996 Cup car, can they buy it if they live?
Yeah, absolutely. They can bid on Collecting Cars website for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And with Collecting Cars, do you set a reserve or you just leave it? There is always a reserve, right?
There's two options, a reserve or no reserve. Collecting Cars have had a discussion about the car, so I've presented it to them and said, this is what it is, given them all the information. They'll get, probably 100 or so photos of it. And they've come back to me with a figure that they think is reasonable. So we'll run the auction and see how we go.
It'll be interesting. I'll watch that one for sure. It'll be interesting to see the comments and to see what people think of it and see who ultimately buys it, whether it's someone in Australia, whether it's someone in Europe or UK or US. Because your last Cup car you sold it to the US, didn't you?
Yes, I did, yeah. So that was, over in Michigan. That went over there. That was sold on Renlist.
On Renlist, okay. Yeah, Collecting Cars seems to be getting a bit of a foothold in Australia. I noticed, I had someone reach out to me actually because we spoke about, it was the orange 911 that was on Collecting Cars, which was David. Oh God, I hope I got his name right. Sorry, David from Driving Adventures the Driving Adventures company that does all the driving tours. He reached out and said that was actually his car. I'm going to get him on the podcast at some stage as well. And I can't remember what that sold for. There's a couple of interesting 911s for sale on car sales, though. There's an orange 911 that's for sale. Did you see that? There's a couple of orange ones I noticed. 70s.
You're talking there's a Targa that's just come up?
Yeah, there's that Targa that's been for sale for a while, which is in the yellow type color. That's been there for a bit, that mustardy yellow color, whatever that's called. I can't remember the name. That's been for sale for a while, but...
there's a few nice cars that have come up for sale, and some of them, move quite quickly, and, it all depends on the quality of the car.
So for your business, which is RSR, what was the other part of it?
RSR Classic.
RSR Classic. So you approach people that are selling cars on car sales, or you really like to get people who haven't already listed their car? How does it work?
Well, basically, just as an independent Porsche dealer, I just buy the cars that are whatever I can buy that is a good quality car and a good 911.
Okay.
And then resell it when I have to.
So someone who's listening in Australia now, and they think, I've got this 911 and I haven't listed it, they can just contact you and you can hopefully find a buyer for them, or you buy it first, you said, and then you sell it on. So they just contact you directly?
Yeah, there's a few ways to do it. I've had a few people contact me and say, I've got this car, I want to sell this car and so on. And a lot of the times I've got a list of cars that people want.
Okay.
So if you can match that up, or I'll go out actively chasing one. And yeah, we'll just, do the deals and get them moved on that way. I mean, as I said before, it's not something that I haven't done before. I've done that many, many times over.
Yeah. So anyone that's listening, they can just contact you through your Instagram at the moment, through a DM, and just contact you if they have a car to sell or they're looking for a Porsche and they want something, they just contact you directly. Is that the best way, James?
Yeah, at the moment you can just contact me through Instagram DM, so porscheplatz on Instagram. The website will be up and running soon. As I said before, the website's a bit of formality just to say who we are and what we do. Most of the times the cars are sold before they even hit the website.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing to do. And I have to say, when I'm coming back to Australia, which I am very shortly, before the end of the year, middle of the year, we're back in Australia. So if I don't find anything, I know the person I'll be contacting to find me something. That's for sure. And I think you guys, if anyone's listening and wants a 911 and you're searching for something, really do get in contact with James, because his knowledge, he's got so much knowledge. I mean, honestly, and all your experience, your track experience and your race experience and everything like that. You know what I mean?
Thanks for that, Michael. It's it's not something that's happened overnight. It's as I said, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been buying and selling classic cars for 20 years. So something I've always wanted to do. And now that COVID's over, I kind of set up the business and did all the work, the legalities and all that sort of business during COVID. So I had the time to do it. And then had the dealer's license application come through, which is not exactly that easy.
Right.
It's
perfect timing. I really do think it's perfect timing. I mean, I look at Porsche and what he has, and he obviously does really well with what he gets in. He sells them pretty quickly. And even Classic Throttle Shop, the ones that they get through. I mean, I know they got a couple of Sportos in there at the moment, but they get, there's good cars out there which just seem to appear. So there's definitely a market, and the good ones always sell quickly, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, there's plenty of good cars out particularly in Australia. They are hiding here and there, and as I said before, people have different reasons for owning and different reasons for selling these cars at a certain part or certain part of their life.
Priorities.
Priorities. That's right. I've always had very good relationships with collectors. I've sold a lot of cars to collectors over the years. So, some of these guys have 30, 40, 60, 80 cars. It's
crazy. And you get to see them all. You get to go into that garage and see them.
I do, but nobody gets to see the photos.
Yeah, but you can't take any photos. You can't share it. That's the worst part of it.
No, that's not a problem. I mean, and a lot of these guys I've known for near on 20 years. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
It's not just some guy walking into some guy's collections, saying, I want to buy this car off you.
Yep, true. Do you know those people? Do you know the people up in near Tweed Heads that have that collection that are on Instagram he has the bright green GT3 RS, the 997, and he has a garage. He's got a 914. He bought a red Targa from the UK. Have you followed them? I can't think of his name.
The lime green GT3 RS.
Oh, yeah, I think it's Annette Robert or something they call. I don't know if it's under Annette.
Yeah, I think one of my cars has ended up there.
He's got a good little collection. Yeah, he's got a good collection. He's got like a Boxster.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking.
Yeah. I always look at theirs and I think that's what I want. I just want that.
Well, that's quite a nice collection. Obviously it's different colours and the way they've got them all set up there. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
I did see at one point, I'm pretty sure it's one of my turbos that I had a few years back has ended up there.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So one of my 70s, the 77 model I had.
Right. All right, James. I think we're over time a little bit, but that's good. But really, thanks so much for coming on today and chatting. It was good to catch up again. We should do this again soon.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be back anytime you want me, and we'll say hi to Steve. And I've got 2 girls, so
you know what it's like.
I know what it's like. Good luck to him.
Yeah. Ajmal said the same thing. He's joined the 2-girl club.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's good. A lot of the guys that you've had on the owner stories, you know, as you were saying I think it was in today's podcast with Nick. You know, there's a bit of a community going on there. So a lot of the guys contact each other, and it's quite good what you've got going on. Yeah,
I like that. I think that's great how everyone contacts. Nick from the Classic series, who owns the White 912. He wants to organise. He said we should organise something when I'm back in London. He should organise something with all the UK guys that have been on the podcast, and we'll meet up. Yeah. So which will be good if there's no restrictions in the UK, but there probably still will be. But if there's no restrictions, it'll be a good thing to do. But everyone on Owner Stories is fantastic. You know, I chat to most people all the time still, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing you've got going on.
Thanks, James. We need to set something up on that clubhouse. We need to get a Porsche talk, a Porsche room going on with you and me and a few other people in the UK and chat. That's what we need to do, I think.
I think that could be a thing. You can set one up and have a PorscheCooled room.
Yeah, we'll do a room and we'll get everyone, a few of the people that have been on Owner Stories and a few other people that I've been talking to as well, and do some kind of thing. Like I said, I'm still trying to work it out. But that was actually Nick from Classic Series, he gave me the invitation. He said you should put something up on there. It'd be a good thing to have a club. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on this evening. I know it's in the middle of dinner time there, so it's a bit of a weird time I asked you to be on.
No time for me, so that's fine.
Is it? Okay. All right, so that's James who stepped in today for Steve, taking Steve's seat. And James, make sure you follow him at porscheplatz, RSR Classics, his new company. So if you want anything, if you're looking for a Porsche or you're trying to search out a Porsche you can't find, send James a message and he will help you in your quest. And that's about it. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for listening, and bye for now.